Hello, so today's going to be a Crab Rave Warrior game. So this came after a long grind session of losing like 200 LP. If you've been around on my streams, you'll see that I'm just getting progressively more tilted. I feel like I need to learn a bit more, so I get a little bit more consistent. But this game was handed to me very easily. I remember at the long stream of games, I'm like, surely one of these games I high roll, and this is the high roll game. Basically, if you don't know, Nyla is very strong. Nyla's so strong they just B-patched her literally today. Today, a couple hours ago, Nyla was B-patched. But you can play around Nyla plus Akali. Now, I never really had success with Nyla Akali as a reroll. I feel like Akali is way too inconsistent. I think that the inconsistency in the hands of a good player, like better than me, could help things work out. Akali, I feel like, is very hard to judge where she's gonna go. And you need to build Akali in a particular way in order to stabilize around it, which just leaves you to play around Nyla a lot of the times. And, you know, for the gold investment, a lot of times when I'm playing Warriors, I like to level. Level to play around Fiora, as well as Gwen. Like, I'd rather just play around, like, the 4-cost versions of them, which is why, like, you've probably seen in the past, as well as on stream, whenever I have, like, melee items, I'm always trying to play around Fiora and Gwen, rather than play around Nyla and Akali. I think Nyla and Akali are very strong. I think there's some situations, right? Like, there's a setup that I did on my YouTube channel where I used 2 tanky, and it was very, very strong. You just play Nyla, Akali, Shen, and Hecarim, and then you level after. But this is the case where I think that the comp really, really shines. A lot of the stats are skewed by Unleash the Beast. Unleash the Beast is very, 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 very strong. Basically, what this does is it gives you a Sterix gauge, and then when it pops, it gives you extra attack speed as well as immunity to CC. Having a Sterix on all of your warrior units is basically like one of the best items. If you look in the stats, it's hard to discern because I can't exclude Unleash the Beast, but almost every time you're playing warriors, the best thing you can do is Unleash the Beast. The best item you can make is Sterix on most of the units. Like, Fiora's best item is a Sterix, Nyla's best item is a Sterix, Akali's best item is a Sterix, and a lot of it is because of Unleash the Beast. These are those times where I think, okay, this is a decent reroll spot. I can definitely play around. You know, I started with a Nyla. I took Unleash the Beast. If I'm contested, I'll play around Gwen Fiora, right? And this is one of those comps where it's really hard to miss. So I'll show you roughly what the comp should look like. Obviously, from the title as well as my description, you should know that I'm going to hit 6 Warrior. That's going to happen with an emblem later. But for the time being, I'll just show you like the rough idea of how to play Warriors, which looks something kind of like this. 1 second. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. Also, I'm sorry that I'm losing so much on stream. For those of you that are starting in stream, I think it's mostly my fault because I can't be low rolling that much, but some of the games are absolutely incredibly bad, like that I've been having on stream lately. So I'm trying my best, but I really want to rank up. I want to get diamond before the next patch because I already feel like I'm behind. I think last set I was already masters by now. So but I think there's less people playing because I'm still within the top 10%, so it's kind of awkward. Or sorry, top 1%, so it's kind of awkward with where the tiers and the ranks kind of go right now. Unleash the Beast, as you can see, it averages less than a 4, or less than a 4.5, which means that's usually good. That's like the rough thing. Average is like 4.5, and it's been played a lot of times. And if you look at a lot of units, right, like Nyla, if you say like Nyla 3, what's her best item, right, we'll see a Sterix gauge. Now, they nerfed Nyla. She's still playable. She's just not as oppressive and annoying. But basically, a lot of the times, you want Sterix on Nyla. If you go like Akali, for example, these are all warrior 2-cost units that you can reroll. I think her best item is also going to be, yeah, Deathblade is up there, but Sterix is also up there. A lot of it is because Sterix, like Unleash the Beast, if you look at any of these warrior units, that's why the stats are kind of skewed, right? I don't think Sterix is good in every situation on Akali. I think it's because with these units, you really don't want to reroll them unless you're getting some sort of resource augment, right? Unless you're getting like something like Not Today or Unleash the Beast. I feel like it doesn't work out as well. The reason why Unleash the Beast is so good is because it also gives the immunity to crowd control. Melee units hate crowd control. They hate getting stunned. That's what crowd control is, right? They hate getting stunned because they need to constantly be attacking to keep up their Omnivamp and their healing. There's so many times where an Akali dives the backline and then she just stands still. She just sits there and fucking dies because she's not attacking, and then she's not getting Omnivamp, she's not healing, she's taking aggro, she's in the lead, and you just die and everything's bad. So that's why if you look at the stats like that, it's important to understand and digest it. A lot of times it's skewed because I've Unleashed the Beast, so that's why a lot of times you see Sterix. But it's a good thing to take because there's lots of options to play it. The main core that you're usually playing is something like this. You're playing Hecarim, Shen, then let's put Warriors. All right. So I'm just going to put them all in, right? Now it says 5 warriors, so don't worry about it. But basically, usually what you do is you're going to play Akali, Nyla, and then you're going to play 2 out of the 3 of these. And that's going to be your board on level 6. So let's just take out Gwen, because Gwen's usually the one that's dropped. She's a little bit underpowered. I feel like Gwen's better as a tank than as, like, a non-tank. I don't know. I find, like, tank items on Gwen, I feel more happy with her than, like, pure damage items. But anyways, let's just take this board. This is your board. This is level 6, right? So you just play around 4 warriors, and you're trying to reroll 3-star, 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 and if you can, Katarina 3-star. But the main ones that you're going for are Nyla and Akali. Nyla's kind of weird. I think the tech, this is like the secret sauce. I haven't tried it because I'm too scared. I think that double Sterix Bloodthirster with Sterix with Unleash the Beast is like the best Nyla items. Nyla also really likes IE. Because the way that she does her like swing and doing like the big crit of damage works out really well. Nyla's items are pretty flexible a lot of times because she also gets a lot of shielding based off of AP ratio. It's not that big of a shield, so it's not that important, but it does help a little bit. So things like Giant Slayer, Guard Breaker, if you're in a pickle, those items can work really well. In terms of Akali items, of course, if we're playing Unleash the Beast, you put Sterix. And when I showed you Akali, it also showed that Deathblade's really good. The problem with Akali that I usually have is that, let's say we have a full board, right? Let's put the Akali, like, let's just put her somewhere here. So let's say your opponent, we'll just use Pyro units just because they're highlighted right now, right? Let's say the units are like this, right? Akali, if you read her description, she will dash between the furthest enemy and 3 hexes. So Akali's kind of weird. Let's just put another Nasus like over here, right? Akali's kind of weird because if you look right now, 1, 2, 3. She'll dash to Varus in this case because the furthest enemy is Varus, right? If Varus is over here, 1, 2, 3, Akali will dash this way, right? But sometimes Akali gets stuck on a frontline unit kind of like this. Then Akali, she does like, she can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. She won't dash to Varus to try and snipe the Varus. She'll do some dumb shit like 1, 2, 3, 4 and pop up over here and be like, oh yay, let me fight this other frontline unit. And she'll dash like horizontally because she basically just runs to the furthest unit in 3 hexes. And sometimes if they have like a lot of frontline units and you can't get your Akali to like get to the back line, it's really awkward, right? So the positioning for Akali, I have a hard time like in the middle of fights, like then you have to think like 2 moves ahead, right? You have to think like, okay, I'm gonna dash here, and then I'm gonna dash here, and I'm gonna dash here, and it's so hard to plan. I'm sure better players are better at it. That's why I feel like she's really inconsistent. The other thing is, if Akali doesn't have enough damage, so let's say you don't build Deathblade, also you usually want because she always like griefs and she just dives the backline, it's usually something like this. You have Edge of Night, and then like if you're playing Sterix, it's awkward. If you're playing Deathblade, you don't have damage. It's really hard to fit the items on her that you want, because let's say you put like healing on her with like Edge of Night, because Edge of Night's obviously important because she dives the backline, she gets aggro, she'll just die instantly. So this is really good to de-aggro. The problem is you need to balance it so that the Akali has enough damage, because if the worst thing that can happen is Akali dives the backline, she doesn't kill the unit, and then she comes back to the front line. Because as soon as she casts again, she dashes to the furthest enemy again. And that happens so many times. That's why I hate playing around Akali. So if I'm not playing around Akali, I think Nyla's really good. So a lot of times I like to just like, if I get Akali for free, I'll play around Akali. But a lot of times I just like to itemize Fiora. Right? Fiora's so much easier to judge. What she does is she'll dash the largest clump of units. So you know that she's always going to dash to a clump. So basically what you would do is you would just plan to, okay, so let's say here. She'll take a step back, and then she'll dash to the clump. So she'll dash like over here. Right? And that makes sense. And then, you know, if they have their backline clumped, let's say they have this and this, and you have this unit here, right? Then, you know, Fiora will go here, she'll dash, she'll end up here, their backline's clumped. If it's more clumped than their front line, she'll step back, and then she dives the backline. I find this a lot easier to plan around placing your Fiora to get her to kill the backline. And I think that's what you really want to do with these type of melee comps. You want to try and cheese the opponent, get through those front lines that are too tanky or too hard to deal with. Also, my screen looks tilted. I don't know if I'm dizzy or if I'm just going crazy, but I'm sorry if it is tilted. Anyways, so that's basically like a little rundown of all the stuff. We just finished Krugs, and we're gonna go over the items and everything that I did, as well as the next augment, and kind of play around like what we're doing here. Now we're going to the VOD review portion. That was like the little like, hey, if you didn't realize, this is how you can play this game, these type of units, and this is like a rough breakdown on the units. So here I'm looking for really any combat or rolling augment might be good, just to guarantee that I hit everything that I want to hit. Combat bandages, it doesn't seem that good. Here I hit Warrior Crest, so I kind of say, okay, Warrior Crest, and it gives me an Akali, like that's good, so I might as well just take it. As you can see, in terms of the items, how they worked out, I made Hodge. A lot of times, like Hodge IE, so Hand of Justice IE, your 2 Omnivamp items, Bloodthirster is almost always better than Hodge. But if you're making an item with another glove, so for example, I'm making a Last Whisper, Hodge with Last Whisper synergizes really well, because they both use a crit glove, so they both increase your crit chance, which helps your overall damage, right? Because a little bit of crit chance doesn't matter. Having an IE doesn't matter that much, but if you stack glove items on top of each other, it gives you more crit chance, which is usually pretty good. And because Nyla already gets a shield, I feel like Bloodthirster isn't that necessary. It is a better item on her if you look it up, and I'm sure it's a better item because it's just a better item altogether. But just for item economy, I didn't have Bloodthirster, so I made Last Whisper, and Last Whisper gives armor reduction, so that helped my whole board, because most of my board is going to be doing AD damage. And Last Whisper is really nice on Nyla, because she hits like multiple units, right? She does the whole whip thing. Whenever you put a unit with like anti-heal or shred or sundering, it helps if they hit multiple units, because then you're shredding or you're sundering multiple units, and that's like the main idea here. So I rolled a little bit. I found 2 Fioras. I found as many Fioras as I did Nylas. That's not good, but it's also not bad. And basically we have a warrior emblem. It's 5 warrior. Don't worry about it. As you can see, I'm playing Katarina. I have a Lilia in instead of a Hecarim. Hecarim usually played because you want to cap out him on multi-striker. I'll show you in 1 second. Let me just get back to the board. Here we go. So when you're building the board, let me just scroll down like this. A lot of times you play Hecarim, because what you do is you level up and you play this, and then you have 4 warrior, 3 multi-striker, 2 bastion, 2 fairy, 2 pyro, and this gives you multi-striker, which helps your Akali to do extra damage. So that's why you play the Hecarim. And then the Hecarim also is Arcana, so if you level again, or if you continue to push levels, you can eventually just play a Xerath and get a bunch of bonus damage, right? Because Arcana buffs your whole board, based on, like, you know, either this or Tahm Kench, and you can use the Hecarim to give you AD, or you can use the Xerath to give you flat damage based on purchasing charms. So that's why you usually play the Hecarim. But for the early game, because I already have an upgraded Lilia, I'm just playing Lilia to get the Katarina, to get the Fairy in, and I'll eventually drop the Seraphine, or sorry, the Lilia. Where's Lilia? I always click them, they look very similar. I'll play the Lilia after. The Bastion helps, because Bastion gives your whole team armor as well, and when you're melee units, it helps with the damage reduction, it helps them to survive, giving the whole everybody armor. So that's why those are the synergies you usually go for. But for now, like I said, I'm not playing multi-striker until I level, because 4 warrior is a little bit better. Oh, sorry, one more thing. So if we look at the stats, with 6 warrior, stats, explorer, right? Let's say we have like Nyla 3, right? This is why I took it. Like, let's say we have Nyla 3, Akali 3, right? Like, this is what we're maybe going for. It averages quite well, right? If you actually hit, you hit. It's really strong. If you've seen it, there's lots of other ways to play the comp. You can also, if you have an Akali early, you can play 4 warrior with a pyro spat, and you can put pyro spat on Nyla, and you can play 5 pyro, and it's like really, really broken. There's lots of ways to high roll with this comp. If we look at the traits though, and we type in warrior, 6 warrior is actually really good. So 2 warrior is obviously pretty bad, because that means you're often low roll, or you're not having like a really good spot. Because a lot of times you really want to have the damage amp that you get from 4 warrior, and 6 warrior is really, really good. See, there's a decent amount of games. It's obviously less common because you need a spat, but because it's like to me, it seems like it's worth going for. So I'm just gonna try and level and play all the warrior units and play around 6 warrior, and I think that I'll have like a lot of damage amp. So that's my thought process. So 6 warrior is not like bait. Some augments you'll look at them, or sorry, some traits you'll look at them, and the vertical trait will be bait. Like, for example, like 6 Vanguard a lot of the time is like, now obviously Vanguard 4 got nerfed, so maybe 6 Vanguard is good, but a lot of times like 6 Vanguard isn't that great. Stuff like what's it called, like 8 Bastion is often not worth it. Like, it's not worth it to get that many emblems. Fairy a lot of the time is not that worth it in some cases. But in this case, 6 Warrior does seem to be really well with the line that I'm playing. I'm trying to play around Reroll Akali Nyla, and 6 Warrior is, it says, according, like, you know, if I'm looking at it, and I haven't played this comp that much, so I'm relying on a little bit of extra knowledge of, like, statistics on, like, of all the games played. The ones with 6 Warrior seems to place a little bit better, so it's like, okay, let's play around 6 Warrior then. I kind of naturaled all these Akalis, by the way, if you look at this. So I bought the duplicator as a charm, obviously, and then I'm winning a couple rounds. It's Crab Rave, so I'm actually not scared about Crab Rave because I have warrior units. I roll once, and I find another Akali. I pretty much didn't roll at all, and I already found all these Akalis. Right, I'm level 650. I'm basically just a little bit of slow rolling. It's only stage 3, by the way. I lost one fight, but it's not, you know, that was just high roller stuff. And then if you look here, this is what I was actually complaining on stream about this. Because, like, watch what happens right now. Did you see what happened? Hello? The game just gave me an Akali. And I've been sitting here and I'm like, bro, I've been losing every game today. I've been having a miserable time. Look at my scores. 8, 7, 5, 5, 7. Now, this 8th is my fault. This 7th wasn't my fault. This 5th was my fault. This 5th wasn't my fault. And this 7th, I don't know if it was my fault. I have to VOD review it. But either way, it was a very hard day today. And all of a sudden, the game just drops me an Akali 3. It's like, that's not what I want. I want to play, like, TFT. I want to play a flex board. I want to, like, use my knowledge and think and work. I don't want to just get gifted a first. But yeah, I got gifted. I got gifted a top 4 for sure now. Right? Because the thing is, now I have options. The biggest problem with the Warrior comp is that, like, you really need to hit, like, a Fiora 2. Right? You might not notice it, but, like, these extra units really matter a lot. Akali is very unreliable in some matchups, right? Especially if she gets stunned. Obviously, I've unleashed the beast, so I eliminate the potential of her getting, like, absolutely stunned. But you see this? Like, the Akali she just died, you know? And it's okay. This has high horsepower. But, like, sometimes, like, you'll watch in some fights, the Akali just dives the backline and she just dies. Or she dives the backline, doesn't kill the enemy, and comes back. And I really don't know how to make it so that, like, I don't know the perfect build. I think I had the most success with Hodge, Deathblade, Edge of Night. I think that's my best Akali items, but here, because I'm Unleash the Beast, I don't have that particular set. You'll see there's a Pyro Crown here. I already have 3-item Nyla. I don't really want to play around the Pyro variation of this board. I know it's really strong, and it might be really good, but instead I want to have items for Fiora, because I already have, like, I have really good item economy. So I'm saying, like, I could probably put anything. Even a frontline item is probably fine. So here I get Luminous Deathblade. I'm down to just put down Fiora straight up. My items worked out really well. I have 2 Sterex on both my main carries. And I have this duplicator that I can roll for. And then I'm just rolling, right? So I'm rolling for 2 things, right? We're rolling for Nyla. And we're rolling for Gwen. So this is what I mean by you have options, right? If you high roll, you have to understand what options you have for high rolling, right? I hit Akali 3. Now, what should I do? I have 2 plans. 1, roll. 2, level. Right? I should be stable with this Akali 3, right? This Akali 3 should make me stronger than most of the lobby right now. I can either roll looking for a Nyla, or I can level to strengthen my board around the other units that I have. For me, at least, I am so far away from Nyla. Right? I need how many Nylas? Count them. This would be 5 Nylas total. I'm barely halfway there. Right? I'm not gonna roll for 4 copies of Nyla right now. Rolling for 4 copies of Nyla makes the entirety of my board a little bit more pliable. Right? It makes it so that I run into a situation where I might not actually be able to cap out my board really high and play for a first. This game, because I hit this Akali so early, I want to play for a first. So if I want to play for a first, the best thing I can do here is greed gold as well as level. Because if I level, I get Gwen in and I get 6 Warrior. I can play around Fiora instead. I already am Fiora paired. I can easily find a Fiora 2, probably easier than finding the Nyla 2. And if I push levels, I'll allow myself to play 6 Warrior, which strengthens my whole board entirely. As well as I'll be able to play either Witchcraft, or a better fairy unit, or multi-striker. I have better options of putting more quality units and strengthening my whole board as a whole. Of course, if I roll and I hit the Nyla, then I'll have Nyla 3 and Akali 3, and I'll be way stronger than before, and it will definitely compensate. The problem is you don't know if you're going to hit it or not. And so for me at least, the best thing that I can do is say, you know what, if we hit the Nyla, we hit the Nyla. I'm going to push levels and play around Fiora with my Akali as a dual carry. I already know I feel pretty comfortable with Fiora. I think Fiora, even she got nerfed today as well. This whole comp kind of got nerfed, by the way. And you can still see how strong it is. Obviously, I'm 6 Warrior, so it's a little bit different the way I'm playing it. But Fiora got nerfed, Nyla got nerfed, Pyro got nerfed, but that's more of like 5 Pyro and Execute, so you know, it's okay. But anyways, I got a Fiora on Carousel as well. I don't know how. This is like the first game all day that I wasn't contested. They let a 4-cost Fiora go, and I was already Fiora paired. So what do? I push levels. I'm still 50 gold. Like I said, I'm trying to play for a first, so I'm trying to maximize the amount of econ that I'm getting every single turn. And yeah, I'm not going to roll for anybody. I remove the items off the Nyla because obviously Fiora 2 is probably going to be stronger than the Nyla 2. So what I want to do is I want to put the Sterix on the Fiora so that I take advantage of Unleash the Beast on Fiora instead of putting it on the Nyla. Of course, I was aiming for Belt anyways, even if it wasn't a Fiora there. Belt is good because I'm one component off of making another Sterix gauge, and I can just Sterix get Unleash the Beast value on my Nyla as well anyways later. But I'm down for this. I have so much damage. Now I have Fiora 2 with a Radiant item. It worked out. I definitely high rolled on the Radiant item. There was a lot of misses that I could have done. But I felt like there was a lot of options because if I got like a really, really strong AP Radiant item, I could have just put it on Gwen. This Warrior comp is very hard to miss on items because if you have tank items, you can put them on Gwen/tank. Even some of the Warriors, because they get so much damage from the Warrior trait, you can put tank items on the Warriors as well. If you get AD items, there's lots of AD units. If you get AP items, there's lots of AP units. And as you can see here, I'm naturally the Nylas as I'm leveling. That usually happens, especially if other people are playing rerolls. So I'm going to try and just natural into the Nyla 3. I'm stable around this Fiora 2. So I'm just econing up. I'm keeping all my gold. I'm hoarding all of it. I'm going to try and push level. I'm going to try to go level 8. And if I feel like I can also go to level 9. Try and fit in things like Arcana, like I was showing you before. Things like Multi-Striker with the Callista. Or things like Preservers, right? There's a very easy line with Preservers. I'll show you right now. Let me tab out for 1 second, because I think I win this fight Oh, no. Do I win this fight? Let's see if I win this fight. I'll tab out during the neutrals to show you like one of the other comps you can play. Well, hopefully this is enjoyable so far. I want to make it as much of a teachable moment as possible. I'll try and point out some positioning things as well. Right now, because I'm just so far ahead, I'm a little bit lazy with the positioning, so it's not super important. Because, like, you know, I'm going to win those fights anyways. Another thing you can play is you can play vertical Preservers with Warriors. This is like a common one that I used to play a lot. I think it got a little bit weaker over time because a lot of the units were kind of nerfed. But I used to play something like this a lot. And then I usually picked Akali here. So what you can do is basically, you play 4 Preserver, which just gives everybody passive healing. You play around Rakan and Morgana, and then you play 4 Warrior with it. And then, because of the Preserver traits, they synergize with all of the Warrior units. So you can play 2 Fairy, 2 Sugarcraft, 2 Witchcraft. A rendition of this board was that you would drop these units and then you would play, this is like the Callista board a lot of the times you see, where somebody plays like Callista or Arcana, but this is like a nice core that you can play Preservers as well as the Warriors, and then you get the extra traits in for those Warrior units. This was a different version of the board. I don't think it's as strong because I think now Nyla and Akali, if you itemize them well, if you have Unleashed the Beast, you can really make it work like that. But this was like a 4-cost board I would go for, something similar to that. If you have the option, like obviously, it's good to know these options if you're contested, right? Because if you're contested, it's like, okay, I'll push levels, I'll play that. If I'm not contested, I'll push level, I'll do that, you know, whatever. Here I leveled to 8. I found a, I'll go back, and this is how high roll this game is, by the way. Watch this, ready? I was bitching about this too. I hate it when I high roll this hard when I'm playing. I leveled to 8, and I rolled once, and I found the unit I was looking for. So now I lose the Lilia to put in Hecarim, and I just put Warrior on Callista. I think Warrior Emblem is better on other units. Like, I've seen it be really good on Briar. I've seen it be really good on, like, basically with Briar, you play Briar and, what's his name? Briar and Nasus. I've seen Warrior Emblem be really good on what's her name? Camille. You put her on Camille, and then you play the same preserver board because Zillion gives you Chrono. I've seen those ones really pop off, and I think they're really good in the stats if you look it up as well. But for right now, I'm just putting it on Callista, whatever. Callista can do damage. I don't want to put it on Hecarim, and I don't want to put it on Shen, so it's like, we'll just put it on Callista. And we can figure out a more extravagant board later. I'm winning every fight right now. I might start losing some fights in a little bit, but in my head, I'm thinking I could just go 9. Right? I'm 64. I can basically go level 9 right after Carousel. So these 2 rounds, I'm basically just gonna sit. I'm super rich, and that's what happens when you high roll your units, right? I'm basically a reroll comp, and I'm high rolled. I also have 2 duplicators, by the way. So with these duplicators, oh, here I just took this 7 warrior, lol. I said, okay, maybe this will make me a little bit stronger for this round in particular. So I'm buying charms as much as I can. Buying charms serves 2 purposes. One, it makes you strong to make sure that I'm keeping up my win streak to keep me rich and keep me having a lot of gold. And number 2, a lot of times in stage 5 onwards, you want to buy a lot of charms because then when you put in Arcana, you can get the flat damage boosting from Xerath. Xerath is based on how many charms you buy throughout the game. So if you're playing around like an Arcana unit, like for example, my next in will be Xerath or an Arcana unit, so that I want to play around Arcana, so I want to buy charms as much as I can. But like I said, I have Nyla 3 on deck. I got dropped the Greater Duplicator from the Gold Orb. It's not the best thing to get dropped, but it's good in this case. So I have 2 Duplicators. I can go for it. I don't think I need to. I'm full streaking. I'm 70 HP. The rest of the lobby, the next closest person is at 50 HP. Right? I'm not super concerned about anything. I'm not super concerned about making my board like that much stronger right now, if that makes sense. Obviously, that might subject me to lose a 1 or 2 rounds, like this one maybe. I stepped the backline, but I think I'm still too weak. This is the Ezreal comp, by the way, the Ezreal Hui comp. This was against a clone, though. So I'm pretty sure that guy's really strong if I fought as real. Like, this guy is real. It's just so much damage. He has both. They both have good items. He has Three's Company, which is pretty good. And I think he just, like, hit everything because he took Invested. But he doesn't have 3-star frontline, so I should be able to tear through some of his units, especially with the Radiant DB Fiora. So here, I kind of want Crown Guard. I want Crown Guard for Gwen. I'm kind of making Gwen like a semi-tank in this case, because I feel like with the Warrior trait, she's going to be a little bit tankier than like itemizing Hecarim or Shen. Shen's probably pretty tanky, but you know, I'm kind of down to just like give her some good attacking defensive items. Crown Guard's really good on Gwen in a lot of cases, and has good synergy with Steadfast, because as soon as Steadfast procs, like, you know, Steadfast, like, you have durability up to this point, then you lose it past a certain point. As soon as you lose it, then Crown Guard kicks in. So it kind of like, they go hand in hand a little bit. Like, they're pretty okay together. But yeah. Now, you know, maybe we hit Gwen 2. Maybe we're just chilling. We're just going to go 9. This is a high roll game. Right? Of course, this is what I was trying to say before. This is why I didn't want to roll on 6 too much. I was so far away from Nyla. I could have probably hit Nyla, but then I might have not been able to push levels. And I think getting Arcana in is going to be really important. So this guy's really scary. So what I'm trying to position here is that I want Akali to dash in, and then I want her to dash to this guy now. So hopefully she targets the Viger, and you see she went to the Viger. And you see what happened there? Do you see what happened there? We're going to replay it for a second, because I lost the fight because of it. And this is why I hate fucking Akali. Well, I actually don't hate her. I think she's okay. I used to think she was really cool. But a lot of this happens to me so many times. And it's very item dependent. And I think it's like damage dependent as well. But it's like, it's kind of silly how it happened so many times to me. But basically, a lot of times when there's like a reroll player, this guy's reroll Viger, so he has a Viger 3. So I position my Akali. The furthest unit in 3 hexes is one of these units. So what I'm anticipating is, okay, the furthest unit should be this Mordekaiser if I place my units in front of here, right? Because my Akali's going to go here, and then, or it's going to hit the Nile, what's it called, this unit. So I'm trying to position to like dash once towards the side. So as you can see, because I positioned my units kind of clumped, this walks up, Akali gets stuck. So now she's going to go this way. Right, I was kind of thinking the Mordekaiser might stay here, which was kind of dumb. But I was thinking like, anyway, she'll end up somewhere in this general area. That's what my goal was. right? So we watch it out. Akali's gonna dash. She goes here, right? As expected. Somewhere around here, right? That's what I was trying to aim for after the initial placement of the units. So we get there, right? And we're fine. I don't know if Edge of Night procced yet. I think it did. And then I dash here, right? So this is what I want. I want to go here because then the furthest unit is going to be the Viger. There is a chance the furthest unit is one of these frontline units here, but I figured that's also good because then my Akali just gets out of harm's way, right? She'll dive over here and she'll come back, or she'll dive and try and kill the backline unit. So I try and kill this Viger. I procced Edge of Night, and then my Akali doesn't kill the Viger. She doesn't kill the Viger. She straight up doesn't kill the Viger, and she dashes away. And what happens when she dashes away? She leaves this Viger with enough HP that this Viger is able to pump out enough damage to kill her. See, so she went back, but it's too late. Hello? And I lose this fight. And this happens so much. That's why I hate playing around this. Now, obviously, if I have Nyla 3, I would win that fight for sure. If I have Gwen 2, I also probably win that fight. Like, it's not like, I'm not complaining about in this game in particular. I mean, like, that, imagine that happens in your one life, and you're, like, struggling to live. That's why, like, I don't know if you need to be a better Akali player. I really like Deathblade on Akali, right? Obviously, if I kept Edge of Night was important there, but this is why, like, Sterix, outside of, like, Unleash the Beast, I'd rather have I'd rather have Deathblade. I just wanted to do, like, raw damage. Deathblade or IE. I wanted to dive in there. I want to make sure she fucking kills that thing. But it's okay. It's okay either way. I just wanted to point it out. Like, that was something that I really tried to get my positioning right. I also have my Fiora here, because my Fiora, I was hoping that she would go here and attack the clump. So, like, for, like, this fight, I didn't really position that well. But the same idea applies, right? If it's 3 hexes, hopefully I dash to the Ahri. I dash to the front. That's fine. I think the Ahri's maybe out of range. And then I just get out. That's fine. There's nothing I can really do here. I didn't position strictly for this fight. If I move my Akali over by 1 spot, she would have dashed to the Akali, I'm pretty sure. She would have dashed to the Ahri, I'm pretty sure. But either way, it's fine. I lose this round, but like I said, I want to go level 9, and I want to have enough gold to roll on level 9. So I'm just sacking these 1 or 2 rounds, because if you look at the rest of the lobby, they're kind of all cannibalizing themselves. Right? There's nobody that's really in a spot that looks like they're going to outcap me. Because I still haven't hit Gwen 2. I haven't hit Nyla 3. I don't have Kalista 2. I also don't have Arcana in. So I have a lot of, like, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to spike my board. So there's 4 ways I can greatly improve my damage. And as of right now, nobody really has that many options to, like, actually, like, make themselves into demons. So I'm pretty sure if I hit all of those 4 things, I just win for free, because I'm just so far ahead of everybody. But if you look, it's Crabrave. I'm playing melees against Crabrave. It's really hard to beat the Crab a lot of the time. But if you have a melee unit that's, like, self-sustaining with, like, Omnivamp, you pretty much always beat the Crab. So everybody else is kind of struggling, and I'm pretty sure, like, half the lobby is going to die here. And let's see. Here I'm trying to pick my items. Hodge is pretty good. IE is good on Nyla, but Hodge just makes it so that I have some healing on my Gwen. Some additional healing on my Gwen, which is pretty good. And I take Gwinsu because then I can put on the Kalista for sure. Right? I don't have, like, Shred. I don't have anti-heal, but I'm figuring that I'm doing so much damage that anti-heal isn't as important. I was looking for anti-heal there. What's her name? Katarina gives a little bit of anti-heal, but obviously you want, like, real anti-heal at one point. But it's totally fine. We hit Gwen 2, so that's one way I can spike. I put in Kalista because whatever, I'll just play an extra melee unit. I'm greeting my duplicators because I don't want to just use 2 of them on Nyla. I could have done it rounds ago, but like I said, I have so much HP that I think it's fine. This is round 2 of this guy. I didn't really position this time. I didn't try to overthink it and cook because last time it didn't work out anyways. So I just clump all my units, and what do you know? Gwen 2 does enough to stabilize me for that fight. And now there's just this guy. Obviously, he could hit Rise 3, but he has, like, so little gold. He's basically 0 gold. So I'm not really concerned. He won't even have enough gold to buy the Rises if he has, like, 3 Rise in shop. Well, he will if he can sell his board, obviously. But, like, you know what I mean. I'm pretty confident that I'm fine here. Now I'm just going to roll. I'm going to try and get upgrade to Kalista. I got Dragon, which was a good charm. I was going to roll for a good charm anyways. If I win this fight, the game's over. This guy's 1 HP. We put in Morgana. Morgana gives Witchcraft. Good enough +1 unit for me, in my opinion. I'm down. And then I'm rolling a little bit. I find the Nyla, and I am too slow to duplicate it and do everything. So I would have had Nyla 3. I'm kind of beating myself up over it. It's like, damn it. Obviously, instead of this unit, I wanted Xerath. Xerath would have been a little bit better for me, just to get like some more damage amp. But yeah, this fight doesn't look like it's close now. I have way too many damage dealers, and I have this dragon with all this HP. This guy just can't even come close to doing as much damage as I do. So yeah, it's just a high roll first. We just got an Akali 3 for free, and we just went straight to 9, and we just win for free. I didn't really play that well, I don't think. I don't think anything I did was particularly obscene, but I don't think anything was like particularly incredible. But as you can see, it was a lot of rerollers. It probably helped with all these rerollers how I was able to hit the units so fast, because like just thinning out the pool a little bit. But this was a 6 warrior variation. I showed you some other tips and tricks on how to play the comp without 6 warriors. I personally try to avoid comps like this, like especially like reroll Nyla Akali if I don't have Unleash the Beast. I feel like it's just so important for winning early game fights. I've played around Nyla 3 even before, and a lot of times I go bot 4 trying to play around the Nyla, just because like, especially if you don't high roll your items, it makes it really hard to itemize the Nyla and the Akali. The comp really opens up if you make it to level 8 or level 7 or level 8, where you can play around Gwen and Fiora, because Gwen can hold a lot of the items that are misses, right? And so can Katarina. It makes it a little bit easier if you're rolling at a higher level, because let's say like, you know, look at this game, right? I had some tank items and I had some rod items. I didn't have to worry about like trying to make some weird items on Akali or Nyla. I just kind of put them on Gwen, right? And I got 2 rods, big deal. I put them on Katarina. It's hard to miss with items, but you have to be like a little bit higher level to like open up those possibilities sometimes, at least in my opinion. So hopefully it was an enjoyable video. I wanted to really say that it was a Nyla 3 video, but we ended the game with Nyla 2. And I just greeted my duplicators for the next game, so that's kind of funny. But yeah, hopefully learn something. Hopefully you can try out this comp yourself. And it's been really dominant, so have fun with it. If you haven't tried it yet, definitely add that to your little toolkit. Anyways, see you and have a great rest of day.